Charlie gently used the knife in the bottom of the boat 2 times. The bottom of the boat will appear a hole. When Charlie saw Demeter appear outside the ship, he hurriedly used his foot to plug the hole in the bottom of the ship. While Charlie was talking with Demeter, a warship suddenly sailed to their side of the ship. Charlie and his teammates were worried that the other side would pose a threat to them, and they all began to change to avoid the Navy's search. Black Brother, in order to make himself look like a fisherman, he picked up a worm pretending to be wearing bait. As a result, the black boy was so nervous that he popped the worm into the officer's head, but the officers thought the black guy was really a fisherman. Then the officers looked at Demeter. Demeter hastily pretended that he was seriously fishing. As a result, Demeter threw the fishing rod out with great force, not expecting it to fall into the sea. At this awkward moment, Demeter suddenly thought of a good idea. Demeter hurriedly raised the handle of the fishing rod and pretended that it was a telescope. But the police officers did not continue to suspect Demeter. When the army's ready to withdraw, the officers found that Demeter had already entered the ladies' room. The officers realized that he had been tricked, so he ordered to shoot Demeter. Demeter also changed out of her costume and grabbed a weapon and attacked the officers. Charlie and his teammates also grabbed their weapons and started to fight back. Charlie told the team to retreat first. He would stay and continue to fight. The team immediately jumped into the water and fled when they heard the command from Charlie. Charlie took up his gun and fired at the enemy. In just a few minutes, Charlie was surrounded by fallen bullet casings, and the casings had piled up into a small mountain. The enemy also cooperated with the line fell into the water. The enemy fell into the water. Posture is also very fancy. By the time Charlie ran out of bullets, the officers thought he was on the verge of victory. But Charlie pulled out a grenade, which he threw precisely into the officer's mouth with a violent explosion. The enemy was all but eliminated. Charlie was also swept up into the air by the impact of the explosion, and he hastily opened his parachute. Fortunately, Charlie hung on a tree, but he calmly took out his steel knife. Then Charlie pulled the rope after the steel knife actually turned into a chainsaw. He successfully cut the tree branch to complete the fall. Charlie suddenly fell in the air like a javelin stuck in the ground. Teammates rushed to pull him out. Charlie and his teammates, in order to successfully rescue the hostages, they dived to the bottom of the sea, but Demeter released a stench, which surfaced with the bubbles and made the soldiers fell into the sea. Then Charlie and his teammates successfully infiltrated the enemy's base. Charlie is trying to break in through the iron gate. He took out a small steel knife to cut the wire, but when Charlie gently pulled the barbed wire, gate fell down. Charlie sneaks into the cell where the hostages are being held, and he tries to get the key out, but Charlie accidentally stabbed the guard in the face. Fortunately, the guard was in a dream and didn't want to wake up. Charlie managed to get the key, but the key was thrown outside the cage by Charlie. The hostage had to rush out and pick up the key. Just as the hostage used the key to open the cell door, the guard suddenly woke up, but the hostage gave up the pistol and picked up the fly swatter and knocked the guard out. Unexpectedly, the guard accidentally hit the alarm on the wall. Then a large group of soldiers came here. Hostages used weapons to send enemies flying immediately on the wall. Charlie also used his gun to shoot the enemy wildly. Soon the enemy was piled up into a small mountain. Despite this, the enemy surprisingly put a bullseye directly on his body. Charlie did not worry about running out of bullets. He casually grabbed the shells and threw them hard at the enemy, who would fall down with him. Demeter broke through the enemy with the hostages, but the next moment, a soldier opened the door and he looked around suspiciously. Charlie draws his bow and shoots an arrow at the soldier, but the soldier unexpectedly dodges the attack. Charlie did not give up attacking the soldier. He hurriedly aimed at the soldier and shot another arrow. The arrow was dodged by the soldier again. Charlie's archery skills were really bad, and all the arrows he shot were accidentally dodged by the soldier. At this time, Charlie found that he had run out of arrows. When the enemy saw the extra arrows behind him, he was so scared that he screamed loudly. So the soldier hurriedly loaded the magazine and prepared to shoot. Charlie picked up a rooster, and then he continued his attack on the soldier. Then the rooster flew out at once. In the rooster's scream, the soldier was killed by Charlie. Finally, the rooster laid an egg. The curly-haired man picked up the bazooka and knocked on the door. Then the curly-haired man quickly backed up and prepared for battle. He waited for the enemy to open the door and then knocked him out on the ground. When the curly-haired man saw the other soldiers behind him, he immediately attacked. Almeida was aiming her sniper rifle at the enemy's head, and the next moment she knocked him down with a hammer. The enemy grabbed a banana and attacked the curly-haired man. The curly-haired man struggled for a few days before he realized that the soldier was only holding a banana. So the curly-haired man opened his mouth and took a bite, then punched the soldier and knocked him to the ground. When the enemy used artillery shells to bombard, that's when Charlie's teammate Mike quietly stabbed the shell with a bamboo pole. Then the shell hit the sky and fell vertically, causing the enemy to be blown away on the spot. Tiber Charlie rushed into the enemy's base and fought directly with the leader. Tiber Charlie slashed his sword across the Kindle, but the Kindle didn't change and his sword broke into 2 pieces. Without a weapon, Tiber Charlie had to run away immediately. At the critical moment, Tiber Charlie's teammate Tom arrived in time to give Tiber Charlie help. Tom grabbed the rope, handsomely jumped down, but jumped into the fireplace. But Tom came out again as if nothing had happened. Because Tom's clothes are special material, so the protection is very strong, will not break. Then Tom and the chief of the 2 picked up the lightsaber, directly began to fight. But Tom was soon defeated by the chief, so Tom hand picked up the blower, stabbed into the chief's mouth, and began to inflate. The chief picked up the iron bar to Tom, smashed down hard. The result of the iron bar are hit out of the human form, but Tom was not injured. Then Tom picked up the fire extinguisher, sprayed the chief, rousing into an ice sculpture. Tom gently pushed the chief, fell to pieces. Finally, Tiber Charlie managed to save Bean. Bean was a photographer and wanted to take a picture of Tiber Charlie and Demeter as a souvenir to thank him. As a result, Bean kept backing up to find a suitable angle for the photo, but Bean falls off a cliff and loses his life. At the end of the movie, Tiber Charlie and Demeter are together and live happily ever after.